What's up, everybody? Brett here, back today, excited to be bringing you guys one of the first multiplayer Total Warhammer 2 games that I've done in a hot second. It's going to be me playing as the Lizardman versus New Power as the Greenskins. Very nice player. Honestly, just finished playing this game. Had a great time. I'm going to play some more after this. He said, just in all fairness, that Greenskins is not normally his forte, but that he's, trying out a build, and his build was super fun. It kind of matched my own. I let him know as we were picking our armies that I wasn't taking it too serious, that my build was going to be very fun, and indeed fun it is. Let's go ahead and get the unit cards up as well. So this map right here lends itself really towards the kind of rush build that I'm trying to go for here. Cheap, wide rush build. That's what I was thinking with the Lizardman. Slightly inspired from a game that I saw the other day in a tournament play that Turn was hosting. I saw a guy take like a cheap Lizardman build, and I'm like, you know what, I think I can improve on this. I think I can make it better, and this is what I came up with. A very symmetrical and dynamic army that I like quite a bit. I have two flanks here, so I'm only going to go over one because they are identical. Cold One Riders, anti-infantry, armor piercing. Going to be very good basically versus any cav that the Greenskins bring. They're cheaper than the ones with spears. I like them. They're kind of a Swiss Army knife of cav. Bring the Pharaoh Cold Ones. They're super cheap Velociraptor units. I like them to eat the charge of actual heavy cav, or to peel off and, go after, let's say he had a lot of goblin archers. They could peel off and go after that if they're not needed in a cav fight. Or they're also quite fast. At 70 speed, they can often catch people slipping with their micro and get onto some of these like goblin rider units. Assuming they don't get poisoned and then have their speed reduced. And then the real monster here is the Pharaoh Carnosaur. He's our anti-large, and we do have a lot of anti-large in this army. So we've got two of these bad boys. Remember that. Identical, super fast moving anti-large monsters on either flank to handle whatever we need. And if, let's say there was nothing out on the flanks for us to deal with, we would just collapse. We would just collapse around the opponent's army, and we'll have victory that way. So, front line here, super cheap. Skink Cohorts doesn't get any cheaper. 300 gold. You gotta love them. Backed up by some standard Saurus warriors. No shields. Opting to go as cheap as possible so that I can go as wide as possible. And then a single unit of red-crested skinks. Kind of think of them as I do as a bodyguard unit. They have armor piercing, but they also have poison attack. So they're going to slow down whatever comes to attack your leadership corps. And that's kind of how I want to use them. Very numerous. Very hard to break. Decent leadership for a unit that's so cheap. And then our leadership corps, it's actually hard to tell who they are because it's a red-crested skink chief completely stripped down. I think he's 650 after the fact. And then we also have here, where are you? Where are you, buddy? Are you being like pushed along? You are. The Dread Saurian gives no craps about his own teammates. Skink Priest, Lore of Beasts, 2 spells here, highly efficient, very cheap. We've got the Flock of Doom, which isn't going to be honestly that great in this matchup. Considering the lineup that our opponents brought. I want chunks of infantry in order to make this effective. But my opponent did bring a lot of single entities and monstrous units, as well as the Curse of Onrare. So a bit of a backup spell. Going to lower speed and melee attack, which is what I care about the most in an AoE. So to help us win some blob fights with our kind of substandard infantry, or to help keep a very mobile leader, like let's say Grom the Paunch in his chariot, slow him down, make sure that if he engages with me, he has to stand and fight. But my opponent caught me completely off guard with a build that I think was honestly well suited to defeat my own. We've got goblins and orc boys. Orc boys making up the front lines, goblins taking up the protective job of defending the flanks as well as the rear. We've got 2 groups of stone trolls, a nice pick versus the Lizardmen. I like them a lot. They've got magic resistance, they've got missile resistance. See if we can kind of hover over these bad boys here. Natural missile resistance of 25% as well as magic resistance. They cause fear, they have regeneration, and they have 70 armor. So I think they're great anti-large units. Giant River Troll Hag here. Lore of Death. I see Spirit Leech. Yeah, that's all you need. honestly all you need. But the big centerpieces here, and of course we've already kind of seen they have some Wolf Rider archers. I like that. I like the mobility. I like the poison coming in from the goblins. We've got the Ragnarok Queen. Let's go ahead and zip in on her. For those of you who haven't really seen her model before, she is an impressive lady. She's got all the goblins on the howdah on her back. But she has the ability to summon little spiderlings who last quite a while. And yeah, they're just good at mucking things up, chasing things down. Very good utility unit, as well as his Lord choice, which very unique. I haven't seen this pick in quite some time, honestly, since it came out. But a Goblin Great Shaman, poison attacks, big 120 armor, huge HP pool, anti-large, as well as the anti-large from the Ragnarok Queen. If they team up, they can take on any of the monsters that I have. I see Vindictive Glare, a common spell, as well as Sneaky Stabbing, a buff, and Curse of the Bad Moon. If I went for mass infantry, that might have been very effective. And then Don't Even Try It. Okay. Lots of spells. I might have gone a little bit thinner on the spells just to save a little bit of money, but that's my general playstyle. I try not to take too many spells. I value even another cheap unit of Skink Cohorts. Even a 300 gold cheap infantry unit I value over having extra spells. But without any further ado, guys, I have caught most of the flank here, or at least I've gummed them up and made them run away, kind of in a bad pattern, with just one Feral Cold Ones, and I'm coming in now with the Carnosaur, with my Cold One Riders, and we're going to do some dirty business as the Feral Carnosaur pushes through the front line. I'm going for the Giant River Troll Hag. As a large target, that's what I want, and we're going to instantly break the calf here, leaving the Ragnarok Queen unsupported. Both of these units, the Carnosaur and the Queen, are anti-large, and I'm going to be dropping a Curse of Onrare here, I do believe, yes. So lowering the stats here, going to give my Skink Cohorts and everyone else a fighting chance. The biggest thing that I'm trying to do is make sure that I don't stack my infantry up too much, that I don't blob. I do not want to blob. I want to stagger my stuff, make sure I've got something on every target. Make sure, for instance, that I don't have multiple cav units fighting one group of goblins. So I'm going to push through and try and get onto these trolls. My Feral Dread Saurian, unfortunately, does go feral several times this battle. I'm going to use my Hero and Lord to keep it honest, to bring it back under my control, so that I can focus it on the Goblin Great Shaman and get that crazy armor-piercing damage where it needs to be. And I'm just going to kind of ignore the Ragnarok Queen for the most part, while, of course, going off, giving these buffs, these huge buffs, to the greenskins. You'll see here the Dread Saurian, cold-blooded, back under my control. And my opponent is going to be forced to bring units into combat that maybe he doesn't want to, like the Giant River Troll Hag. He wanted to keep it tucked in. But I am going to force him into the fight. Flock of Doom. Cheap spell, you can just kind of spam it, just going off here. And I'm just wrapping up as much stuff as I can. Try not to leave any safe spaces for these archers. Dread Saurian needs a little help staying on task. He's currently slaughtering these trolls, which is a beautiful thing. 750 weapon damage, weapon strength. And we have routed the Goblin Great Shaman. Temporarily, he's wavering. But we're going to make a sick play in a minute here. I hope I don't forget to show you guys this. Unfortunately for my opponent, he did leave these stone trolls kind of unmicroed for a hot second. That's the danger of playing with trolls. They route easily, and you have to constantly be on top of your micro in order to bring them back. We've got some blobbing going on here. The two spiders have met up, but I'm going to get a nice Curse of Onrare on both of them, making sure this is as unfair of a fight as possible. Dread Saurian plus a Carnosaur. Going to be way too much for the Goblin Great Shaman, especially with the melee attack lowered like that. You see the amazing animations of the Feral Dread Saurian. And I'm going to turn it now with the help of my Lord. And we are going to try to break the Ragnarok Queen, which is going to prove even tougher to take down. I'm going to peel off the very fast Feral Carnosaur in order to get this Goblin Great Shaman and chase him off the map. You'll see I'm microing in a lot of other places as well as we speak. I'm changing targets. But this is the play that I'm the most proud of. I saw my opponent take charge of these stone trolls. And what I did was I issued an order to run up and around. That way I would stay near the Goblin Great Shaman, out-micro the stone trolls, chase the Great Shaman right off the map, and then I'd be able to micro him away. I don't know if we're going to get a chance to see me like re-micro and get away from the stone trolls, which I do, and then I decide, you know what? I'm going to rampage near the edge of the map. These stone trolls, while great, armor-piercing, this is a Feral Carnosaur. Armor isn't as relevant as his anti-large. So I chase him off there, I give the order to run around, and then I cancel it, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just turn and fight these bad boys. In the center here, the Ragnarok Queen is doing work, punting my red-crested Skink Chief all over the place. But being honest here, he's a small entity. Not going to be the best target for the Ragnarok Queen, and he only cost me 650 gold. He's basically Lizardman trash. Sorry, guys. But he is not the focus here. He is the one taking the damage, while the Dread Saurian is the one doing the damage. He's poisoned right now, which is why his weapon strength is down to 600. But I am, as I'm doing this, and I'm trying to micro in the center of the map here, I'm also microing to all the different corners of the map to try and make sure that all of my units stay fighting. And that's going to be it. My opponent, I could tell toward the end there, his micro was getting stretched. He was doing a decent job of pulling things back in, but I think I just did it just a little bit better. Our armies, in terms of matchups, I think I had the upper hand here with lots of mobility, lots of armor piercing, good amounts of anti-large. I really decentralized my leadership core as kind of being unimportant. You know, if my Skink Priest had gotten picked off in the beginning, wouldn't have mattered that much. The Curse of Onrir, while relevant, perhaps wasn't the game changer in this battle, whereas my opponent had Giant River Troll Hag, pretty expensive investment, pretty decent combatant, you know, 4 kills and only 340 value. Now, he did get some decent value out of, you know, his Lord. And sometimes, guys, I would caution you not just to look at value as damage dealt. I see a lot of other YouTubers who I know are great at this game. They overlook something that I like to point out pretty much every time, which is that damage dealt is not the sole value of a unit. Some units in this game, Bastiladons are great examples. They're never going to deal, well, not say never, but they most often will not deal a ton of damage. Their value is in their tankiness and their cheapness. Their cost versus how much damage do they absorb. Think of them as any tank that you would play in any type of, you know, MMO, RPG, something like that. You know, is the warrior in your 40-man raid going to be the one that's doing the DPS? Probably not, right? But his value is in how much damage he tanks. And these two units tanked a lot. The Ragnarok Queens, it's just he did not have the DPS to follow it up. And I was very worried about the Stone Trolls at first. I thought they might be able to hold something like my Carnosaurs or my Dreadsaurians in place, while, you know, something else, maybe like the Ragnarok Queen, would come in and do that anti-large damage and take them down. Now, the Pharaoh Dreadsaurian, it's a mouthful every time I have to say it, did very well. The damage dealt 11,400, almost certainly most damage on the battlefield. And, you know, Cold One Riders did a pretty great job, but look at the kills on the Feral Carnosaurs, or the Feral Cold Ones, rather. Not bad, right? They are an annoying, cheap, fast unit with decent armor piercing. I love them against the Dwarves. I love them a ton. Versus like miners and stuff, they just chew them up, spit them out. The Saurus job, just to try and beat infantry. They definitely beat Orc Boys in a 1v1 as well. I mean, I just got good value on all my units. I spread them out evenly throughout the fight. I used them to chase appropriately. I flanked big time and was able to overwhelm one flank while also pushing the only mobility that my opponent had into the main fight. And my leadership core didn't matter, and my Carnosaurs and my Dreadsaurians were able to handle business. But guys, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Brett. Channel's Goodtalk Gaming. Thank you again to New Power for an excellent game and a courteous game at that. Always nice to see kind people in the community. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later, guys.